Hello and welcome to iNN's headlines and beyond for April 11th, 2012. As always, coming to you raw and unedited. This broadcast is going to be a shortened broadcast, as long as this week is going to be abbreviated as well, because we won't be back until Monday due to the Greek Easter holiday coming up. Uh, to all my Greek and anyone who is Eastern Christian, uh, Kalopaska, Kalianastasi. That means uh, happy Pascha, happy resurrection, Anastasi. So that's what's going to be happening over the weekend. But we are coming back on Monday with a retooled show, some new features in it. We previewed the feature last night. We're going to be looking into conspiracy theories because conspiracy theories really do play an important part on how we see and perceive the news. A lot of it's brought out about this bias, but a lot of these bias, as I said, is in every media aspect in every aspect of media, including the news and journalism. So when you hear people talk about unbiased journalism, they're not really telling you the whole truth. Uh, and today, this was actually confirmed. I've got in our next clip segment here. I've got to show you this. This is the first clip of today. Let me get this playing here.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Weekdays at Bernie segment tonight. Let's go right to the purveyor, BernardGoldberg.com, who joins us now from Miami. So do you agree with me that Mike Wallace is the best TV interviewer ever?
Are we including Jesse Waters in that question?
You know, you bully Jesse. He's only
All right.
He's
Okay,
only
okay.
17 years old. All right, Goldberg, come on.
I know.
He's doing pretty well.
Yes, I do. I do agree with you, and it's not only about the journalism. Even though Mike was a very, very good journalist, and even though that's a very big part of it, Mike understood the medium in which he worked. You're not supposed to say this out loud if you're in television, but Mike understood that there was a lot of show business in television news, and he was a great performer. He was able to move seamlessly from putting on a velvet glove to putting on brass knuckles. Best example of that, he's interviewing the Ayatollah Khomeini, and he says, "Your Holiness, this isn't me. I'm not saying this. Please understand. This isn't, I'm not saying this." That's the velvet glove. And then wham, he says, "But President Sadat says you're a lunatic." Now that's great journalism, great television, and it's memorable. And as far as the piece he did with you, if you had to take a wild guess in advance that a mainstream news organization is going to do a piece about Bill Riley of Fox News, you figure they might hammer you. They might go after you. Mike was just fair. He was fair, and I thought the piece he did with you was fair, and I think you did too.
Yeah, I did. I mean, Don Hewitt and Mike Wallace and Peter Jennings early on, all three of them, figured out what we're doing here. All right, they figured out that we're taking a Sunday morning concept, bringing it to prime time, a lot of opinion, a lot of confrontation, a lot of showbiz, no doubt the factor, a lot of showbiz, okay? We're doing it for a good purpose, though. We're doing it to bring honest information. There's no subterfuge. You either agree with me or you don't. We lay it right out there. And those three guys, they respected that. And that's why I got a fair cut on 60 Minutes. They didn't bring in the ideological hammer. But to be truthful,
Right.
Mike Wallace was a liberal man. But I never saw that in his
Right,
presentation.
exactly.
Did you?
No, that's a very good point. I don't think Mike ever understood the concept of liberal bias in the news, because he would say, "What are you talking about? Ronald Reagan was elected twice, George Bush was elected, the other Republicans were elected," but that wasn't the essence of liberal bias, because the American people aren't zombies that automatically follow what the liberal media says. But he was absolutely fair, and even if he didn't get the concept of liberal bias, it didn't matter, because it didn't apply to him. Can I just tell you a quick story? He paid me a very high compliment once. I could do this very quickly. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I was at CBS one day and somebody uttered the 5 words you never want to hear. You never want to hear this, especially if you're a CEO of a big American company. You don't want to hear it. Mike Wallace on line 1. You don't want to hear those words. So I'm going, oh, what the heck is this about? So I pick up the phone and I say, hey, Mike, what's up? And you could bleep this if you want. He says, he doesn't say hello. He doesn't say how are you. He says, you son of a bitch. So I start laughing. I say, because? And he says, you did a story last night that was really, really good. And I wanted to do it, and you beat me to it. That's one of the highest compliments I've ever been paid. And Mike...
And he didn't have to do that, obviously. All right, now,
no,
real
he
quick,
didn't. It was very nice of him.
I want to run in a Barbara Walters soundbite from The View. Go.
There are journalists where the whole thing is how opinionated can you be.
Right, that's...
But I know...
There are others. For instance,
I will give my opinion here of,
occasionally.
But most of us do not. You don't know whether we're Republicans or Democrats or exhibitionists or whatever.
You're rare.
I know you're Republican.
Depressives. We don't know if you're depressive. We are.
All right, so Barbara thinks that most people don't know.
Okay, Bill, I know you like Barbara, so I'll be kind. This woman is clueless.
That's
clueless.
kind.
I know, that was my kind. You're right. Look, first I'll give you just 2 very quick examples. Back when Clinton was president, a very reputable organization did a poll of Washington journalists. 89% voted for Bill Clinton. 89%. 7% voted for George Bush. Now, in a democracy, nobody gets 89% of the vote. That 89% is what Fidel Castro and Saddam Hussein used to get. But Washington journalists, 89% of them voted for Bill Clinton. Okay, that's one thing. Fast forward to the last election. In my book, A Slobbering Love Affair, even liberal journalists acknowledged the obvious that the media was rooting for Barack Obama. So, Barbara, we do know if reporters are Republicans or Democrats. They're overwhelmingly Democrats. They're overwhelmingly liberal. And you don't have to take my word. They tell you that every time they go on the air.
Bernie Goldberg, everybody. Dennis?
Okay, there you go. We have our little piece on media bias there, and as you see, it's not simply issues surrounding Israel or anything like that. The bias basically in television and reporting now is on all sides, and as they said and acknowledged that they are in a business of show business, and they're bringing a lot of this information within the show. And so there is this is what I was talking about before about the new style of news known as infotainment, as entertainment with information inside of it. And because of the need to dramatize and pump things up and hype things and so on and so forth in order to bring in the ratings, this affects the message that gets out there, and it also affects how people see what's going on in the world. And this is how various different political organizations then can get in there and start manipulating people and the general public at large by manipulating what's seen in the news. And it doesn't always have to be what's actually said, but what is omitted from a broadcast. So this brings us into our next segment here. When we go back now, we'll start looking into the goings on with the 2012 election, and it's already starting to heat up, and we've already got as I said, a couple issues to look at here, and this is going to bring us to our next section of videos. There are 3 or 4 different videos in this next section here that will kind of sort of set the stage as to where we're going with this next election.
Can matter a whole lot. Chairman, I want to get you on the record about something, because leadership is all about casting vision, and you created quite a visual with your war on caterpillars comment when responding to what's been called the war on women. You called the war on women a fiction. Obviously, the war on caterpillars comment created lots of headlines. Is that something you want to walk back or clarify right now? I'm not going to walk back. I'll double down on it. It was this war on women is a fiction that the Democrats have created, and the real war on women is the war that this president has put forward on the American people by not following through on his promises, by having women disproportionately affected by the Obama economy. Go read Anita Dunn's book. If you want to go read about a war on women in the workplace, go read that book, and you'll see what the White House's record is on
Chairman,
women.
how can you say that it's a fiction, though, if you stand on the record of what the Republican Party has said and done? And let's just remind you, all three remaining Republican presidential candidates, they are pledging to eliminate federal funding for family planning. All three of them say they support so-called personhood measures. According to the Guttmacher Institute, 90 anti-abortion bills have been signed into law in 2011. This after many of the state legislatures and state governorships swung back to the Republican side. So how do you say that it's a fiction when these laws exist on the book now?
Because it is a fiction, Thomas. It's a fiction. It's a fiction because number one, there is no war on women. It's a fiction. If you believe that all women are pro-abortion, then maybe in your own world, there's a war on women. But the fact of the matter is that our party believes in life for everybody, and the fact of the matter is that the real war on women, the actual things that I think most women in this country are most concerned about, which is a good job, a good family, being able to live the American dream, provide for your kids and your family, that war on women is being perpetrated by President Barack Obama, who has not delivered on his promises, who has put our economy on the wrong track, and we're going to have an opportunity to correct all of that in November.
But Ryan, the fiction that you talk about, the phrase war on women, it's now being uttered by Republicans like Mitt Romney. Take a listen to this.
The other day there's been some talk about a war on women. The real war on women has been waged by the Obama administration's failure on the economy.
All right, so it sounds like you've got the messaging going there from Romney, because it's the exact same
we're just
phrasing
borrowing.
that you just gave
We're just
me.
borrowing your messaging. We're just borrowing your messaging and pointing out to the American people that this war on women fiction that the Democrats have tried to perpetrate upon us is a war that, if you actually look at what matters most to Americans, which is jobs and the economy, it's a war that this president is losing, because women in this country know that the most important thing in any family is an opportunity for a good job, and this president isn't providing it.
But Ryan, you can't discount the fact that we almost took the government to the brink of closing over Planned Parenthood. Correct?
The brink of closing over...
Did
Thomas,
we or didn't we?
The world will continue.
The world will continue, exactly. But is
and
this
the
the
fact
fact
of
of
the
the
matter,
Republican Party or not? Because you say it's a fiction, and you don't want to walk back the fact that a war on caterpillars, that's fine. But how can you say that it's still a fiction when this truly exists in these laws? 90, spiking in 2011, 90 different anti-abortion laws coming across the state legislatures, spiking in the country after the Republicans take back state legislatures and governorships. How do you say it's a fiction?
You and I are never going to be on the same page as long as you believe that if you're pro-life, you're anti-women. And you and I are never going to be on the same page, because I happen to believe that life begins at conception, and you don't. So since you don't believe that, you're always going to believe that if someone is...
This is not about what I believe or what I don't believe. This is me about asking you about questions about the Republican National Committee and your leadership.
Because I don't buy your argument. I happen to believe that you can be pro-women and pro-life. You don't. That's the problem, Thomas. And I'm going to go back to the most important issue in this country. The most important issue in this country is the economy. It's the issue that you and President Obama don't want to talk about, because it's an issue in regard to the economy that this president has been an absolute failure on. And as long as he's been a failure in the economy, he's going to lose the women vote in November, because he has not fulfilled the promises that he made to the American people. And that, my friend, is the most important issue facing women in this country.
We shall see. Right now, the gender gap is 2-1 with women under 50 in swing states right now, leading toward President Obama. Ryan Priebus, chairman of the RNC. Ryan, it's nice to see you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Howard Dean on the attack. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Just call me Miss Cleo, psychic to the stars. Just minutes after I told you last night that the Democratic Party's strategy to re-elect President Obama will be to attack Mitt Romney and the Republican Party. Presto! A few minutes later, Howard Dean shows up on MSNBC and says this.
The Republican Party is gay bashing, Muslim bashing, Latino bashing, immigrant bashing, women bashing every day. And so their young people are just not going to vote for Romney because they're not going to, they think insurance should actually pay for birth control. They don't. Their friends are gay, Muslim, Latino, and so forth and so on. They're sick of this stuff.
Now, I want to thank Governor Dean for making me an oracle. It was nice of him to do it. So what we have here is the Democrats trying to put together a coalition of the aggrieved. Millions of Americans who feel they're not getting what they deserve. And of course, President Obama is here to help them. Now, that analysis is not a slap at the president. Unlike some of you, I don't think he's a bad guy. But I do think he's misguided philosophically, and because of that, is doing damage to the country's economic infrastructure. But I don't see him as Dr. Evil. In fact, I have never, ever seen Mr. Obama with a cat.
As you know, every diabolical scheme that I've hatched has been thwarted by Austin Powers.
Now, seriously, here's how the campaign's going to unfold. The coalition of the aggrieved will be stoked up by guys like Howard Dean and a variety of other liberal bomb throwers. They will put forth that America is not a fair country and that the only person who can make it fair is President Obama. The bomb throwers will then slime Mitt Romney in every way possible. Now, on the other side, conservatives and Republicans will make a mistake if they sink into that swamp. At this point, everybody knows President Obama. You don't have to demonize the man. You either like him or you don't. But everybody does not know how much danger there is in uncontrolled federal spending. That is what Mitt Romney and the Republicans have to make crystal clear. How a $16 trillion debt that continues to rise will affect every American. If they can get that point across, everybody will be aggrieved, not just a few selected minorities. So there you have it, right from the mouth of an oracle. And that's the memo. Now to the top.
Mark Garagos as a defense.
All right, so that's the take on politics there, where how we sort of see what's going on in the media, and how the media portrays everything, and we can actually go back and say that the way this is working out is, and it should work out. In many cases, it's actually better for someone to say something other than myself. Let's say you have an argument. The best way in many cases to present an argument isn't to go up there and say, "Oh well, I need to repeat and say what someone else said," and when you can always have someone else make the argument for you. And what O'Reilly said, and the clip from O'Reilly was an earlier clip. It was before a lot of this stuff happened, and that's what I was showing. But here it is now, Hillary Rosen on AC 360.
The economy, and that's what women overwhelmingly say they really care about right now in poll after poll. And whether it's a typical pattern or not, women are seeing jobs come back much more slowly than men are. Is there anything really wrong then with reaching out to women on an issue that they care about, on the economy?
Well, first, could we just get rid of this word war on women? The Obama campaign does not use it. President Obama does not use it. This is something that the Republicans are accusing people of using, but they're actually the ones spreading it. With respect to economic issues, I think actually that Mitt Romney is right, that ultimately women care more about the economic well-being of their families and the like. But he doesn't connect on that issue either. What you have is Mitt Romney running around the country saying, well, you know, my wife tells me that what women really care about are economic issues. And when I listen to my wife, that's what I'm hearing. Guess what? His wife has actually never worked a day in her life. She's never really dealt with the kinds of economic issues that a majority of the women in this country are facing in terms of how do we feed our kids, how do we send them to school, and how do we worry, and why do we worry about their future? So I think yes, it's about these positions, and yes, I think there will be a war of words about the positions, but there's something much more fundamental about Mitt Romney. He seems so old-fashioned when it comes to women, and I think that comes across, and I think that that's going to hurt him over the long term. He just doesn't really see us as equal.
Eric, no wants to be able to respond to that.
Well, I'm still hung up on Democrats haven't been using the war on women, because I've been playing the clips of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Nancy Pelosi and others using the
They don't
phrase
say
war
that.
on women. I'm pretty sure.
No.
Yeah, I think it's a Democratic talking point. I think the Democrats have used it. I think their political mouthpieces from MSNBC to Think Progress and elsewhere have used it. It's clear that that's what the Democrats want to talk about is this war on women. I do think that Romney's going to have problems relating to women. He is going to have problems relating to men, but those problems are going to be about him being able to relate to people in general. And frankly, if the economy goes down, I don't really think it's going to matter. More and more we're seeing small businesses saying they don't even want to hire headed into next year, and that's going to be a problem not for Mitt Romney, but for Barack Obama.
Okay, so there's that clip there. What you see there is that you can see how this denial from the Democratic left. You see the coalition that's now sort of popped up of that O'Reilly had been talking about in his clip. How you're going to have these liberal bomb throwers trying to throw and create all these diversions and other issues and sort of to pull the argument in a variety of different directions, particularly away from the economy, because the economy is doing so poorly. You also have in the statements there, if you listen to the the socialist side of the equation here, their perspective is if you don't believe in abortion, like particularly women who don't believe in abortion and housewives, because she's attacking Mitt Romney's wife for being a housewife, and this is a common tactic of the left, that only working women matter, that housewives and people who are religious, particularly women who are religious, don't matter in this conversation, that they don't represent the reality of women today. And they'll often tell you this, so that's sort of one way to sort of skin the cat and say, oh, well, they don't believe the way we believe, they must not be real women. But that's again, not a proper argument. The proper argument is, and even I'm going to say this, the Republican, when he's faced with these questions, is like a deer caught in the headlights. He doesn't know how to respond. And the thing is, the proper response to this whole thing on abortion would be that is not simply a Christian issue. If you go back to the book from Oedipus Rex and the Theban plays by Sophocles, what you'll find is in the very book we Oedipus Rex, they're talking about murdering children up to a certain almost up to 6 years old. The oracle told you to get rid of your child because he's going to be bad luck. Then you got rid of your child, and so along comes Hippocrates in this area who he is with a group of doctors. These are the ancient doctors, and this includes doctors in this sort of mentality and understanding of life. Can even be seen in ancient Egyptian medicine. That they consider the baby within the womb still to be alive. They still consider it to be a complete whole human being, because we've seen in the Egyptian tombs, we've seen mummified fetuses. And this means that they believe that this being had a soul. And so what happens is that Hippocrates comes up and creates the Hippocratic Oath. This is what all medical physicians take. This is standard to medicine, saying that that it's wrong. Not only they're saying that it's wrong to take a human life, but for those who take human life, and this includes babies, that they're cursed. The Hippocratic Oath is a curse on any doctor who dares take a life. And Hippocrates and the Egyptian doctors and the ancient weren't Christian. So what happens is you're dealing with a conceptual philosophy brought out by the left that is fundamentally not even 200 years old. It's never been proven. It's simply a floating idea out there. It's filled with mythologies. Again, because once you stop once you can't prove something the way they intended to prove things, things are now those gaps and holes are filled in with myths, and all these groups are now guilty of creating these myths. And instead of being simply a philosophy or a modern idea, it's now religion. So these people on the left are as religious as the people on the right. So while they're talking about religious bigotry, they themselves are religious bigots. They're simply favoring their own thoughts and ideas, their own religion over somebody else's religion, and that's the only position they have to defend themselves. So we're going to go on now, and I think we're going to segment the stuff out to really sort of organize this better. So this is the end of the first segment, and now we're going to go into the second segment, and I'll see you on the other side.